And it is a good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, where truth is in the talk. There is power in the truth and Power Talks, and we believe the truth will set you free. Good morning. Way to tap dance. I let you get through that today. How you doing? I didn't want to
my legs are a little sore from all this tap dancing I've been doing.
Good exercise. You ought to be dropping the weight, girl. Oh, great.
So, yeah, it's a great day. We had snow on the eastern shore last night. It started snowing about 4 o'clock. Oh, we probably got, it's barely covering the grass. But it's covering it in most spots, not all spots, but, certainly a chilly day for the beginning of spring, that's for sure. And I also looked at the weather here just recently, and it shows that we're supposed to have snow again on Sunday. It's like, are you kidding me?
Getting upset with these people.
It's hard to walk in the snow in my flip-flops.
Well, it just kind of freezes the Tootsie Toes a little bit. Well, the sun is trying to come out, but it's not going to make it. We're going to have clouds all day and rain, and they're even talking about some freezing rain. I said, how could they do that? Because they've got the temperature going up to 50. I don't believe them. I tell you what, I'm just tired of it. What is it, the saying that only the weatherman gets paid to be wrong 80%, 80% of the time? Anyway.
And, well, it's an interesting day in the financial markets anyway. You have the Dow, it sank about 300 points this morning, and it's all pretty much based on the trade war fears, supposedly. It's part of the problem maybe, but I also think it has other things. But the Dow dropped more than 300 points. It's coming back a little bit at the opening bell. And there's supposed to be an announcement today from the administration that Trump is expected to announce up to $60 billion worth of tariffs on China this afternoon. Of course, we don't know which products it will be. I'm not sure if that will be announced, but the action is aimed at curbing China's troubling theft of U.S. intellectual property. This is what they're using, I think, in order to get this done by executive order, because I'm sorry, but I think any U.S. intellectual property being stolen by China has already been done. So I'm not quite sure, how the future of intellectual property being stolen by China, but China did come out and said that they were threatening to retaliate against the United States, sort of like a tit for tat type of thing for this discussion and perhaps tariffs. China didn't specify how it would respond, but U.S. crops like soybeans are likely to be in the crosshairs. Of course, that could hurt our farmers here. But then again, I heard that the administration came out and said that they would protect the farmers, which means subsidies. So again, how is it helping us? But I don't know. I mean, this is just talk. This is just, we don't know anything until it actually happens, and it really filters down to see how it does affect us. And but I mean, I know everyone wants tariffs, and I'm not going off on a tariff discussion today. I believe in tariffs. No. But I believe in.
That's all I had. I'm out the door.
I believe in tariffs. Okay. But we really don't know how it's going to affect the theory, and I get it, but we don't know in today's world how it's going to affect the various situations. Is it the beginning of the right thing to do? Probably. Is it being done in the right way? I really don't know. It's I don't know how else we could do it than just do it. But to give subsidies, our farmers to give subsidies, it's, and you're in that area.
What they need to do to help the farmers is give them a fair market, and they haven't done that. There's been the market is fixed, and there's laws against that, but they do it anyway, and they have never ever honored the Packers and Stockyards Act ever. And so the packers and the stockyards have it fixed, and the farmers really don't have a market anymore. And so all the farmers need is a free market, is a free chance. Just give us a chance to compete. And
will subsidies help?
Subsidies have been what sustained them. They're there because they haven't had these markets, and so you can't farm without a subsidy right now because it is so bad, and people don't understand that. And I don't understand all of it. We need to get I'll get Bill Bullard on here, and we'll talk about that. He's excellent. He's with RCAF USA, and we'll get him back on. They have hope. This administration is at least talking to them and listening to them some. Mm-hmm. The other administration wouldn't at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. No, they wouldn't even open the door, answer anything. So they at least have some hope right now. They're not real happy with the farm bill, but they've got some hope that they're at least getting heard. So.
Well, that is a good thing, and I like I said, I don't know our soybeans. We have big markets. They're the biggest buyer of those products. I don't know who can come in and replace. If they decide to do it, but it might be a tit for tat. But then again, there's.
Well, I can just for instance, and we don't need to stay on this, but like in the cattle market, and with bringing in meat or cattle or whatever from overseas, they don't have the same regulations and health regulations that we have here. And so we had the cool bill, it passed, and then Congress decided to repeal it. So you don't have the right to know the origin of your meat or your food or where it's coming from because they don't want you to know because, again, Melody, they are D.C. occupiers occupying offices and cutting deals, and those deals have to do with every market, not just the farmer in rural America, it is the foundation of America. That is the foundation of everything. And, they just keep destroying the individual, the independent farmer and rancher, and they're going with big corporation. And big corporation doesn't care what's in your hamburger. They don't want you to know where it came from, that it came from some country over there that's got all kinds of hoof and mouth disease and other things that they don't take precautions and don't take care with their meats. So anyway, that's a big issue in agriculture, and we just need to get Bill on here. I'll see if I can do that. He hasn't answered my email from last week, so we'll see what we can get done.
So could doing those types of regulations and so forth basically give the farmers and ranchers a little bit better, freer market to where?
Well, if the competition had to follow the same rules that ours had to, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it'd be better for the Americans. You could decide if you want beef from Africa or beef from USA. And I'd say most people want their beef from the USA, but you never know. But you can make that decision, But now it's coming from everywhere, and you don't know what's in it. And Congress said you don't need to know. It's not important. So.
Well, Congress, speaking of Congress.
Can we talk? Can we say one funny thing before we go into Congress? Did you see what Joe Biden did? Did you see what he said?
You know what? I don't pay any attention to these childish remarks coming from either camp.
Then you must have seen it. They're calling it a childish remark. So he's giving this speech against assaults, particularly it's the Me Too, against sexual assault and all this and that. And he was putting down the president. He went all the way back to the video that they made known during the campaign where Trump said some pretty unpleasant things. And he said he would take him out behind the bleachers at high school and beat the you-know-what out of him. And this is what he's saying when he's at a conference that's supposed to be against physical assaults. This is the same guy who says, get a shotgun, get a shotgun, get a shotgun. Anyway, Joe is... everybody has forgotten this man is not honest. Do you remember how he graduated, with all this cheating and what do they call it when you steal other people's words? And he did that. It was a big deal. but nobody remembers that now, do they? That he.
No, they don't.
Yeah. But anyway, they've got Uncle Joe. He's going to run for president.
But he just sets up Trump, and Trump just falls right for it. And Trump sometimes is his own worst enemy.
Yeah,
and he comes out and says something dumb too, and it's just like, move. It's childish on both ends. But anyway, But you're right. I mean, nobody ever calls out these people like Biden, what he's done and what he has said in the past and so
Plagiarizing.
forth.
Plagiarizing.
Yeah.
And, that's how you get college.
Yeah. So I mean, they're all the same. but anyway,
doesn't matter if they say they're Republican or Democrat. They are all, every single one of them, the same. And they ignore what the people want. I've got an article here, and we'll move on because I really want to talk. Whatever you want to talk about is what I want to talk about, but I kind of got some information that I thought you'd want to go to. We didn't talk, did we? But the American people really do want to do something about arming the school guards. And, I don't know that Congress is going to go along with that. And, I'm going through some of these things that they want, whether it's in this article or the omnibus bill or some of the other things. And I keep thinking, why can't the states take care of that? Why can't the states take care of that? Why do we have to
states are broke.
Well, and why are the states broke? Because we keep paying the feds.
Yep.
Quit paying the feds. Keep your money at home and you'll have more. Anyway, go ahead. Let's talk about what you want to talk about. We're almost out of time for our first segment. Sorry.
Well, I wanted to talk about the spending bill.
That's kind of what I thought. I have.
And they get a 2,200-page bill.
Oh my gosh.
Last night.
The day before they're supposed to vote on it.
The day before they're supposed to vote on it. I mean, it's just like it's the same stuff time and time again. Republicans get a $78 billion increase in defense spending. Democrats get a $52 billion increase in domestic spending. And the appropriators almost completely disregarded the austerity budget that was proposed by President Trump. And, they're saying, oh, well, we can, maybe make some changes and so forth and whatnot. But here's some of the winners and some of the losers. The winners, the troops, all military personnel will get a 2.4% pay raise. Civilian federal employees get a smaller 1.9% raise. Defense contractors, Pentagon gets $144 billion for new hardware, including missile defense. Dean Heller, the Nevada Republican, is the most vulnerable senator up for re-election in 2018, and he blocked efforts by the Energy Department to revive the unpopular nuclear storage program at Yucca Mountain. It doesn't say how much he gets, but Chris Van Hollen, the Democratic senator for Maryland, blocked all funding for the construction of a new FBI headquarters. Big Ag.
Why does the FBI need a new headquarters?
I know that, but these are the positives,
Well, those are the positives, okay.
The big ag, the tax bill is going to hurt large agricultural corporations by giving special advantages to farmer-owned cooperatives. Their lobbyist, Scott Language, inserted to level the playing field to get their support. Democrats secured the expense. This must be, because they certainly are pumping up the Democrats here. But the Corporation for Public Broadcasting will get a $465 million in federal spending. Where are the Republicans?
Well, what rumor is, I heard him say last night that Paul Ryan let the Democrats pretty much write this omnibus bill.
Yeah.
I can't even pronounce it. Omnibus bill. We're going into a break. I hear this. We're gonna be pretty riled up because I tell you what, I'm fed up with these yo-yos. 717-300-1218. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann, and we are on a tear. We'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. And I had to calm us both down on the break because we were both going at it. And I said, you know what, we're wasting the show. This should be on the air. You, the American people, need to be extremely angry at Congress right now. Let me remind you, presidents come and presidents go. Congress stays, and they play this game, and you, the American people, pay. Now, Melody and I were going through some of the things that are in this omnibus bill. I can't even say it. I'm so angry. But let me tell you something. Ryan let the Democrats, which is neither here nor there really, do the most of putting it together. So what difference does it make whether you have Republicans in charge or Democrats in charge? Then he brings it to Congress, 2,200 pages, 24 to 48 hours before they have to vote on it, knowing there's no way they can read this bill and be ready to vote on it. And in my opinion, you know, when they did this with the Obamacare bill, and Pelosi comes out and says, well, first we have to pass it and then we'll read it, that is treasonous, in my opinion.
It is.
Because that goes against the American people. You're voting for something that you have no clue what it is. You could be voting us sold out to Russia. Just bring Russia back into this. And when you have no idea what you're voting on, they are not representing the people. And you need to be angry at this game that they play every single time. Make that phone call and you tell them, you know what? We're not threatening. We're promising. you're not going to be reelected if you vote for this.
And the thing of it is, this is what this is all about. It's all about the election. I mean, Trump nearly did derail the whole package yesterday.
Yeah,
because he didn't get enough funding for the wall. But little Paul Ryan goes in there, paid an emergency visit. Mitch McConnell dialed in, was on the speakerphone. They argued that he was getting money for the border wall at a level the White House had been signaling was acceptable. And, and who knows what else they were saying. And, well, so then he relented, and he is, one thing I have to say for Trump, he's raising a lot of money for these upcoming elections for the National Republican Congressional Committee. There was a dinner.
Not grateful.
No, they're not. It was Tuesday night. They raised $32 million at an event. So they really should be. People should be outraged. 202-224-3121 is the number for D.C. You need to call these guys and you need to tell them, do not vote for this bill. Shut the government down if you have to. We don't want some bill that's 2,200 pages long. I'm in Missouri. I don't want to pay for a tunnel in New Jersey and New York. Nope.
It benefits me zero. I don't want to pay for it. Let New York and New Jersey pay for it. There are so many things in this bill that need to be directed back to the states. And like we said earlier, I don't remember if it was when we were on a tear on the break or on the air. The states can take care of these things. We are sovereign states, sovereign people, sovereign states. The federal government's got their nose in too much, and that's why we're in debt. And they're making deals, just like we were talking about with agriculture. They're making deals. This stuff, it all goes to they're pleasing those who pay them, the Chamber of Commerce, big corporations, these people with agendas. Congress is filthy rich. These people are filthy rich, and they get on a panel or they get on some council and they're telling us how to live, or they, Pelosi says, well, that's just, crumbs. Well, you know what? I want a few of your crumbs. I'm really fed up with them. It's the same old story day in and day out. Congress stays and stays and stays, and the American people lose liberties, and we pay. We have Joe. I don't know if we got him riled up or not, but we got Joe in Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm all right, and I'm riled up. And how are you?
I'm good.
Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to comment on this trade situation with China that you were talking about. And for one thing I can think of is that maybe China is the only other country in the world that will buy American genetically engineered soybeans. That's one thing to consider. And the other thing I want to talk about is, why do people just accept and swallow this globalist propaganda that the American producers should have to compete against the whole rest of the world for the American market? I mean, I would think that American citizens would have an attitude of they would want to say to the government something like, look, we pay all these taxes you impose on us. We obey all these crazy laws that you impose on us. We pay your high salaries so that you can live high on the hog while we're struggling to make ends meet out here in the real world. We fight the wars that keeps you in existence as a government and keeps you in all your privileged positions as a government. So the least you can do in return for all that we do for you is to give us, the American producers, the advantage in the American market. I mean, we've got a big country here. We've got over 300 million people, 3,000 miles from the Atlantic to the Pacific, 1,000 miles from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. There's plenty of room for competition inside this country, Americans against other Americans, to keep prices down and to keep businesses efficient. We shouldn't have to compete against the whole rest of the world, too, for the American market. I think as a moral principle, as just good policy, good nationalistic policy, every country should give its own producers the advantage in its own market. I mean, for what purpose does a national government exist except to protect and defend and uphold, the first and foremost, the welfare of its own citizens? I mean, a country shouldn't go out and deliberately try to hurt other countries, but it does not owe it doesn't owe it to other countries to let them sell their stuff, completely on a level playing field, completely duty-free or anything like that, in its own markets. One of the things it should do is give its own citizens the advantage in its own markets. Yeah, go ahead.
Two things. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. But one thing is missing. There is no moral principle in D.C. They don't put the American people first. And while you're absolutely right, we pay them enough money to live decently. They can live nice. But that's not enough. Say the average is $150,000 that these guys make up there. And I don't know if that's correct. I know most of them make over $100,000 a year. But they're worth millions of dollars. Because, they have insider trading. Because they cut deals with these other people with agendas. You do this, you do that. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, line my little pockets, And then what you said is what President Trump was saying when he went on one of his tours. He was telling other countries, I'm going to take care of America first. And it's your responsibility to take care of your country first. But D.C. doesn't get that. The Democrats don't get that, and the Republicans pretend like they do. So I think they're almost worse than the Democrats. At least we can see what the Democrats are. They're socialists. But the Republicans, they pretend that they're conservative, and then they tell us they're going to do this or do that, and they do the opposite every single time. And then they give us some lame excuse as to, well, I had to vote for that bill because such and such was in it. Well, how do you know? It's 2,200 pages long. So... Anyway, Joe. You're
right. We talk about they're not putting the American people first, but the American people aren't putting the American people first either.
You're right. You're right there.
So, what do you do? Okay, how do we change it? How do we change it? We know they're corrupt. We talk about our problems.
Keep talking up the truth. Keep talking up the right attitudes. That's the thing we can do. So let's keep on doing it.
Cry it from the mountaintop. Scream it from the mountains. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to give that number again. You need to call your representatives and your senators, and you need to tell them we're done with this stuff. 202-224-3121. Now, that's just the switchboard in D.C. I don't have everybody's separate numbers or anything. That is just simply the switchboard. Light it up. Burn it up. 202-224-3121. They need to hear from we the people because we still are, even though they've messed it all up, we're still a republic. But that only works if the republic is working. And if we're going to sit back and be apathetic and ignore this again and again and again, we deserve it. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No.
Is Joe still there? Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. But you know what? They have placed the American people in a position where they can't do a whole lot. They've placed them in debt. I mean, even our debt. There is a crisis that's coming. You know, the interest payments on our debt are going to hit $1 trillion in a year. That's just the interest. That's $55,000 per household. How's that going to work? How is that ever going to be paid? Over the next decade, we're going to spend about $7 trillion. We're just spending money. We're digging the hole deeper and deeper. And, you know, how do we get out? How do we fix these other things when we're this deep in debt? We're not going to be able to grow ourselves out of this debt because in order to grow ourselves out of the debt, we have to create more debt. So how does that all work?
It's a vicious cycle, isn't it, that they've got
Once you get to a certain point, yes. It is, because you can no longer do that but throw bad money after bad money, and it doesn't have a good ending. There is a day of reckoning coming. The day of reckoning coming isn't just our debt, but it is what they have done, what D.C. has done to the American people. So it all happens at one time, and you don't hear very few people were talking about, the spending bill prior to.
Yeah. Well, I heard a little bit about it on Lou Dobbs. He was on a tear with it, and Laura Ingraham was really going at him with it. She was on a tear, but Hannity was covering other things. He might have mentioned the bill some. But, it's And the rest of them, they're all covering what Biden said, or, the Russians, or this thing with Sessions and all that bunch of hooey. While the real problem is right in front of us. And the real problem is Congress.
It is.
That is the real problem. It isn't the president. While we have good and bad presidents, it's Congress that is supposed to represent the people.
No, because just you have Paul Ryan and you have little McConnell calling him up when he was ready to, turn down the bill, and they're there begging and pleading.
And why?
So the point is, either we're at a point where this is ready, they are desperate.
I believe they are desperate.
Truly desperate to keep this system going, because it's all about Wall Street, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they care about. They don't care about the American people. They care about Wall Street. They care about the multinational corporations. I don't want business in D.C. That's not what D.C. was supposed to be about.
And that's exactly why they're desperate, because this is their livelihood. This is their career. They could care less what money they get from the states to be a representative or a senator. It's all about the money they're making up there in D.C., the big boom town, where they get paid to represent some corporation or the Chamber of Commerce or Planned Parenthood or whoever the case may be, the gay people, that want to have all this representation, and they pay for it, and the American people keep losing. While Congress gets richer, we lose. We get poorer.
And people who have worked hard, that have their pensions, their retirement accounts,
it's all on the line.
How can you even think that you're going to get a part of that? Or maybe just a little part of it. I mean, how can you even think that it's safe? I mean, we've seen examples for years about Cyprus, about the bail-ins, I mean, how can anyone think that your money is safe in these government-controlled accounts? It baffles me. It truly baffles me. And, I hear people tell me all the time, well, if I pay taxes on this, if I pull my money out of my account, I'm going to have to pay taxes and maybe a penalty. And I stand to lose 30%. But yet they're willing to acknowledge that there's a possibility that they could lose 70%. So they'd rather risk 70% than doing the smart thing and protecting 70% of it by I don't get it. I do, because when you get those statements and you see, taxes and penalties on $500,000 plus, those are big numbers. So you just stay in there and keep your fingers crossed and hope for the best. But I think they are truly desperate on what this country faces financially or monetary policy. You have these tariffs going on China. Maybe it's something a little bit deeper than that.
Oh, yeah.
You had President Trump did an executive order in Venezuela because they're selling their oil backed by cryptocurrencies. You have China, where their oil, where they're will be backing their currency by oil, threatening the petrodollar, threatening our dollar. So maybe it's a little more deeper than that, and I do believe that there's much more going on than $60 billion in tariffs. $60 billion when we're already what our trade deficit with China is. It's peanuts, really.
Oh, yeah.
It started at 100. They dropped it to 60. This morning I saw 30 billion. So, and the number keeps going down, but really it's peanuts.
It is. And we're not the only country in trouble. And there's discord, and the world is volatile right now. I mean, it's just a mess, financially as well as the other way. Of course, when your economies are bad, then that's when you see more agitation. You see more wars. It's more violence, even within our own country. I mean, well, I think we're morally bankrupt. I think we're a mess there. And, Joe hit a lot of things right on the money, but the problem is there is no moral principle in D.C. These guys aren't representing us. But the American people...
That's not new. I mean, that's not new.
No, but it's not new, but it is what has brought us to this point.
Yes.
They are the reason we are in trouble financially and every other which way, too. They're the ones. You can blame the presidents, but it's Congress. They want to point at the president. Oh, yeah, go talk about that. But while we're over here doing this omnibus bill, and we're going to take care of New Jersey and New York tunnel because that'll make Schumer happy, it's... why do we care if Schumer's happy? I don't care if Schumer's happy.
The spending bill, it looks like it was written and designed by every Democrat out there. It's like, where are these Republicans? Oh, they don't want to stir the mess because they're up for election. They're scared to death, come November, of how they're going to maintain their position.
They do this and it'll kill it for them. They will not be reelected.
So
people are angry. I'm not the only one angry. You're not the only one angry. Joe's not the only one angry. People are angry about this. And they're too arrogant and blind to see that what they're doing is going to cost them their jobs. Of course, they're already set for life, so they could, they like the prestige. And they wanted to get richer, but they're going to lose their jobs. There's several of them going to lose their jobs over this. And Ryan ought to be one that loses his job. And McConnell.
Well, again, I think it's a lot deeper than them even protecting their positions and so forth anymore. I mean, I really do believe we're at a crux of, where we are. I think it goes much deeper. I think our system, our structure, we are at that point, I believe. And whether they can, extend this. But yeah, they're not, it's, again, you can look at the bigger picture. You can see who controls things. You can see where we're at. There's a big fight going on, spiritually. And, so it's, what do? You have to take care of yourself. And that's what it always comes back to. Government's not going to help you. They'll try. They'll promise you just so you end up doing what they want you to do, what they want you to do. And, they'll be there to help, just like we know there was legislation written during the Great Recession where government, there was leaks, government was coming out and saying, well, retirees, if you give us your money, we'll do an annuity for you, and you'll never have to worry about income again for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we are at a very dangerous place. Even though we might be at a very dangerous place, and even though we're going to go through hardships, perhaps if we did have our system collapse and our currency reset, perhaps we can start at a level to where we can make things better for future generations.
Something to build on rather than
something
right
to
now. It's like you can only tread water so long.
Yeah.
Before you sink. But if we a reset would be great, but it's going to have to take that kind of change can't come without.
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
Without some kind of catastrophe or collapse or something. Something huge is going to happen.
Yeah, they're not going to do it and say, "Hey, let's reset this so we can do." No, you're right. Yeah. There's going to be some sort of catastrophic event. Mm-hmm. And today we don't know what that event is or how close it is, but I think we're very close.
I agree. I hope we're wrong, but I agree. But, the American people are hurting. And I think that's another reason it makes me so angry when I see Congress playing these games continually. And the Republicans, here they've had the majority now for how long? And they've done absolutely nothing. Nothing that they've promised the American people. And they are just as big an obstructionist as the Democrats are against the president. The president was elected for certain things that he said. It wasn't because we think he's a great role model. He wasn't elected for that. He was elected because he was going to take care of the immigration crisis. He was going to take care of the trade crisis that was going on. And he complained about the debt. And he said that we need to get rid of this Obamacare. I didn't always like the repeal part, the replace part. And he also said Planned Parenthood. And Congress has done none of it. Oh, they pretended to do something with Obamacare, but they've done none of it. Zippo. And I think the American people need to realize who the real enemies are, and it's Congress.
It's just, but so we'll see how it plays out, but it's going to be the same thing. They'll pass something through at midnight tonight or tomorrow night. They're not going to shut down the government. They're just not going to do it. And they'll pass something.
Yeah.
They'll pass something, All eyes are focused on, the Stormy interview on Sunday.
Oh, good grief. Stormy weather. Oh, good grief.
I know. But, it's, and I really do. I don't, I'm very uncomfortable with, when there's particularly a wife and, that's, it's just such, for Melania, I feel bad for her.
Well, they're going after her for everything. I really think Melania, I really like her. I don't know her personally, obviously, but I love her grace and her calm demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the way she's like the total opposite of her husband as far as that goes. Now, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. She may throw things. I don't know. But she's very calm and respectful in her speech and when she talks, and she's very deliberate with her words, and I really do respect her. I do. I think I hear music. Do I hear music?
I
in the
do.
background?
I do.
All right, we're going into a break. We have a caller. If he can hang on, we'll go to Tom in Michigan. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning at 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded. It has been borrowed. It has been purchased. It has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melanie and Beth Ann in the morning, 717-300-1218. I promised Tom we would go to him. Tom from Michigan. Tom, how are you today?
Hi. You really got me with all that talk about Congress. And it just keeps reminding me of one of my favorite scriptures that comes from Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. Talks where the Most High sets up the basest of men over the kingdom of men. And, just one of those things where, where anybody can see this happening, and, it's always been this way. Just the nature of the world we live in, where, you look at it and, intuitively, you think that something's wrong, but actually it means that everything's going perfectly as it's supposed to be going. And, it seems counterintuitive, but, at least, that makes me feel a little better to look at things, and then I can, look at things I have and, say, hey, I don't need to worry about how much they're making. I'm doing all right. So, I can't complain. And the whole idea that, that the whole paradigm that, that somebody has to be rich or have power or have people look up to them and, and do what they say. Those aren't the things that are important. But, apparently these people that, these, politicians, they seem to think that that's, that somehow makes them into something if they can, boss everybody around or, things of that nature. But, we got the basis of men, ruling over us. And, it seems backwards, but, actually, no, it's just perfect. Just the way it's supposed to be. We got to come up, so too bad it's got to be that way. I don't know what I did bad in a past life to have to be here, but hey, what can I say?
Oh, well, I appreciate it, Tom. I don't know, as far as the way it's supposed to be, mankind is, we're inherently bad. There's a country song out right now that I think most people are good, but that's not scriptural. Although I like that. I think there is good in everyone, but I don't think all people are mainly good. The people in positions, they're in positions and they're easily corrupted. I've heard talks of the athletes that make an exorbitant amount of money, how women just throw themselves at them, and the temptations and the things that are there, and the gambling and the drugs and the alcohol and all that comes along with that. The temptations are there, not handling what they've got. And these people in Congress, they are set. They are taking advantage. They're really thieves, not in the night, because they're doing it right in front of us and taking everything from the American people. They're just dishonest. I don't know how else to put it. They're just plain out dishonest.
Well, they're stripping the American people, but also of our liberties and our freedoms. I mean, look what they have done in the past. All of these signature legislations, the Patriot Acts, the list goes on, and we never see any of them being reversed. We don't ever see anyone talking about them. We never see anyone saying, well, gee, maybe we should do this. And I have to also believe that, some of the politicians that, get elected and go to Washington, they're not all bad. But when they get there, and sometimes maybe they don't even know just how wrong it is. They fall into it and they get conditioned, just like half the people in this country they try to condition everyone and manipulate. They get fed the same propaganda. The next thing you know, they're going along with the program, thinking or not even realizing or understanding how wrong it is. I'm not saying that's for all, but for some, and it's just for trying to explain things that not everyone that goes to Washington is evil. Now, I'm not saying some aren't. Some very much are. So we really do have to do what we can do: educate, spread the word, and protect ourselves, and vote them out, make the calls. It's a battle.
It is a battle.
Well,
and go ahead.
Plato said the majority is always wrong. So, the majority of people.
I like that.
Majority of people, it's going to be an R or a D, that they're going to pull the lever, and they don't want to hear anything else. And I mean, that's, so I guess we're going to have to live with it. I think Trump kind of snuck in there. I think he's more of a third party kind of guy that really does want to, do something to, bring, individual freedom and liberty, to the people. Where, these other people, many of them, they seem to get pleasure out of, sticking us in the back, and that's, showing themselves how good they are. I don't know, maybe I'm misjudging them, but.
Well, we've talked about the ones who are really pulling the strings, and we know it's the big bankers. We know it's other entities that are pulling the strings up there, and they succumb to that power and the threats that they get, or the promises they get from those powers that be, and whether it's in the White House or whether it's in Congress. But I have to go back and say, that there is term limits on the presidency, and there doesn't seem to be one for Congress, and I think there should be, because we have too many career politicians. I think there's something wrong with somebody that wants to be a career politician. Let's face it, they're not really serving this country. It's not like a career military man who actually believes and is serving a country, putting his life on the line many, many times. They're not doing that. So it's not really serving us like it should be. They're career politicians. That means that's their livelihood. And so they're doing everything they can to increase, to get up the ladder, whether it's just with the salary or with positions, with how many people that they know in contact with that can help them out. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's the power and prestige and money as well.
Well, it's a base instinct, isn't it, to try to, get ahead of everybody else, and
exactly. If it's a career, that's what I'm saying. It's a career. They're not statesmen where they're up there representing you and I, and then they go home to their jobs. That is their jobs.
That is
so
their
of course
job.
They're going to do what they can to better themselves, because it's about them. It's no longer about we the people, who they are supposed to be representing. It's all backwards. And of course, 17th Amendment fixed it so that they can buy their positions, and that's when we had career politicians really escalate.
True.
In my opinion, anyway. So, thank you, Tom. Tom.
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. What did you start to say, Melanie?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. But, it would be so refreshing just to hear someone out of D.C. to talk about term limits. Just someone that, just something to come and support the people once, other than, walls and I don't mean that in a negative way, but something that really makes a difference. And I do think Trump is trying. I don't agree with all of his policies. I don't agree, the sincerity of some of them, but I do believe he's doing something that no one has done before. And he did sneak in, perhaps. So it's interesting. And I think the most important thing about this, too, is it is bringing everything to a head, and that's what has to happen. I mean, this does have to come to, we'll have to reach a peak. It has to come to a head. It has to break, because we can't continue the path that we've been on.
Well, you're right. We can't.
So kudos to Trump, and I think that is, I don't know if it's intentional or what. I mean, I'd like to think that it is to some degree.
I think there is some sincerity. I do believe that he wanted to make things better. He's a businessman, and I think he wanted to make things better. I don't agree with everything he says or does or his lifestyle in the past or anything, but I think we're out of time. I don't hear the music, but I see the clock ticking, and we need to say goodbye. We will be back here tomorrow. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann. Thank you.
Thank you.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.